Okay, today our learning target is I can factor by grouping. So if you feel pretty good about factoring by the greatest common factor, then this shouldn't be too big of a jump for us, okay? So when we factor by grouping, we see this has four terms, and there's no common factor amongst all four terms, okay? So they don't all share a number, they don't all share an x. So what we're going to do is we're going to group it into two different problems. We're going to start with x squared plus 3x, and then our other group will be the 2x plus 6. Okay, so we're going to first imagine that we just have x squared plus 3x, and we are going to factor by the greatest common factor. Okay, they do not both share a number, but they do have an x in common. This first guy has two x's and this guy has one x. So they both share an x, so I'm going to pull an x out. So what is left? We have an x plus 3. Okay, so we did that one. So now we're going to come and do this other one. Now notice I'm putting that positive sign with this group. That's going to be important if it's a negative sign. So that positive sign is just going to come down. Okay, and then what is the greatest common factor here? Well, here 2 will divide into both of them. So this 2 is really 2 times 1 and 6 is 2 times 3. So they both share a 2. So what is left? This 1 and an x, and we have a 3 left. Okay, now when you factor by grouping, there's one extra step that we have to do, and that extra step is this. Notice that they both share a common factor. So this first term, the green one, we have x times x plus 3. So those are two factors because you're multiplying them together. And then we have 2 times x plus 3, also two factors because you're multiplying them together. So they do share a common factor. They share a common factor of this x plus 3. So we're going to pull that out and make that x plus 3, and then if I took out the x plus 3, what's left? Just an x from this one. And then what's left over here? A plus 2. So here is your final answer. We just factored by the greatest common factor. Let's try another one. Okay, let's do this guy. Let's make him a little bigger. All right, so we have four terms again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I notice they do not all share an x. They do not all share a number, so we're going to factor by grouping. So we're going to take this first group, and then we'll do this second group. Okay, so for the first group, do they share a number? No, because this guy doesn't have one. But in terms of my x's, the first guy has 3 and this guy has 2. So how many do they share? They share 2. So I'm going to pull out two x's. So what is left? We have a 2 and one more x. If I pull out all of these x's, there's nothing left. Both of the x's are gone. But that doesn't mean you write a 0. You have to think about what would we multiply x squared by to get x squared, and that is the number 1. Okay, so now we're going to do this guy. Bring down the negative. Okay, and then what is the biggest number that goes into both of them? 5. Because 10 is 2 times 5 and 5 is 5 times 1, so they both share a 5. So what do we have left? There is this 2 and an x, okay, and then what do we have left over here? A 1. Now here's the tricky part. We pulled this negative down in front of the 5, and so you have to think, what would I multiply a negative 5 by over here to get over by this 1 to get a positive 5? It has to be a negative. Okay. Now our final step is to now look here, and we notice that there is another common factor. It's that 2x plus 1. So we're going to do that guy. And then what do we have left? We took the 2x minus 1. We have an x squared minus a 5. And you are done. Okay, let's do one more example. Let's pull this down. Okay. All right. So we're going to do one more here. And so notice again, we have four terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. They do not all share a number. They do not all share a variable. So we're going to group it into the first group and the second group. Okay, so let's do the first group first. They do not share a number because there's no number that will go into 4 and also into 5, but they do share variables. Okay, they share two n's. So we're going to pull an n squared out. And what do we have left? We have the 4n minus 5. Okay, and our next guy, we're going to bring down our minus sign. Let's get a different color. And now what is the greatest common factor between 8n and 10? Well, that would be 2, because 4 times 2 is 8, and 5 times 2 is 10. So we're going to pull out the 2. So what do we have left? We have 4n, and over on the second term we have 5. Okay, but again, be careful. We pulled out a negative 2. A negative 2 times a negative 5 would give me that positive 10. Okay, so let's pull that down a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to factor it one more time. And we're going to say we have a common factor of 4n minus 5. So that's going to come into one set of parentheses. And then our other factor is n squared minus 2. Okay, good luck, and please reach out if you have questions.